Hola, bienvenidos a nuestra sesión de Gramática 101, so Basic Grammar 101, so things that you learned way back in your first year of Spanish. Los sustantivos, los artículos, y los adjetivos. First off, I am going to let you know that you may hear my dogs playing and making noise in the background, so keep that in mind. I am filming this at home, okay? When it comes to today, you need to fill in everything, listen to everything. Make sure that you show me things when you're asked to, and that you show me everything at the end in order to receive credit for what we're doing today. So let's get started. Empezamos. Okay. First off, we're going to start with our basic parts of speech. Mainly so, as we go on this year, you'll become more and more familiar with how I refer to things in Spanish, what they are, etc., etc. Okay. So first things first is un sustantivo is a noun, a person, una persona, a place, un lugar, and or a thing, una cosa. Un artículo definido, or a definite article, is the word the. So if we're using a definite article, one of the words that means the, we are referring to something specific. Un artículo indefinido, or an indefinite article, is how we would say a, an, or some, depending on whether or not we're using a singular indefinite article, which would be a or an, or a plural indefinite article, which would be some. And we're referring to, something a little more vague, like maybe, I need a book, please, or I need a pencil, please. It doesn't matter which one, just give me one of them, see? Un adjetivo, or an adjective, describe un sustantivo, describes a noun. So an adjective is a word used to describe a noun. Y un verbo, a verb, which we'll be getting to in the next video, is an action. So we'll be dealing with recognizing verbs and conjugating them in the present tense a bit in our next video, which will be Gramática 101, segunda parte, part 2, okay? Now, you may have noticed that in the Canvas module, I put a very long compilation of Spanish to vocab. The lists, they were given me by Ms. Mangiafico last year. So these are there for your reference. You don't need to complete them. But if you need to look back on something as we progress through this, please be aware that this is available to you as a reference. You're certainly also more than welcome to look up words from English to Spanish on wordreference.com. As we go through this, and there'll be a link to wordreference.com in the Canvas assignment towards the top, okay? But what you need to be aware of initially when we're dealing with los sustantivos en español, or nouns in Spanish, is that they have gender, tienen género. Género is gender. Masculine nouns, or sustantivos masculinos, usually end with O. Feminine nouns, or sustantivos femeninos, usually end with the letter A, or A, as we would say it in Spanish. Now, of course, there are exceptions to these rules, and when it comes to the exceptions, in a lot of cases, you do kind of have to memorize them. But one thing you should be aware of is that any noun that ends with C-I-O-N or S-I-O-N is going to be feminine. Always will be feminine, okay? So what you're going to do now, pause el video, pause the video, y vas a pensar en vocabulario que aprendiste en las clases de español 1 y 2. Y vas a escribir por lo menos means at least, 5 sustantivos masculinos, 5 masculine nouns, y 5 sustantivos femeninos, 5 feminine nouns that you remember, okay? Once again, you can use word reference and or that vocab list that's available to you to help you look for things if you are having a difficult time remembering. And make sure that you check with me, call me over and have me check over your work so far when you're done, just to make sure that we're all on the right track. Once again, pause the video, do this, and have me check over your work. Now, before we move on, at the top of Página 2, okay, you're going to look at your list, the list that you put at the bottom of the first page. Did you write down some nouns that do not end with the letters O or A? And if so, what are they? And note them at the top of Página 2, page 2. Now, continuing on with los sustantivos or nouns, los sustantivos también tienen número, they have number, which means that they are either singular, referring to one person, place, or thing, or in some cases idea, or plural, which means that they are referring to more than one. So, in order to make a singular noun plural, if that noun ends with a vowel, si termina con una vocal, all you do is add the letter S. However, If a noun ends with a consonant, so si un sustantivo termina con un consonante, if it ends with a consonant, you need to add the letters es. So once again, pause the video, and refer back to the nouns that you used, that you wrote at the bottom of the first page, and change them all to the plural form. It is up to you at this point in time if you want me to check your work now or wait until you are done with the entire notes, video, and packet. When you're ready, unpause the video and move on. Moving on to los artículos definidos, which mean the, no matter whether it's singular or plural, masculine or feminine. Definite article can only be used to mean the word the. So you'll notice that the gender and number must match the nouns to which they're referring, so there is a masculine form and a feminine form for each definite article, as well as singular and plural. So the masculine singular way to say the is el, no accent, very important to be aware of that. The masculine plural way of saying the is los. Feminine singular way of saying the is la, and feminine plural is las. So once again, you're going to pause the video at the top of Página 3, page 3, and you're going to want to translate all the words from Inglés to Español, okay, whether they are singular or plural, so keep an eye on the original form. Use wordreference.com if needed. Once again, there will be a link in the Canvas assignment towards the top if you need it. Once you're done, unpause the video, and we'll move on. You'll note that los artículos indefinidos, or indefinite articles, work a little differently. Once again, the gender and number must match the nouns to which they're referring. So the noun, if the noun is singular and masculine, the indefinite article needs to be masculine singular, etc., etc. Okay? However, a singular indefinite article is going to mean a or an, and a plural indefinite article is going to mean some. So there's a bit of a change in the meaning, as you'll also see in your notes. Masculine singular way of saying a or an is un, and feminine singular is una. The masculine plural way of saying some is unos, and feminine plural is unas. Once again, you want to pause the video, translate the phrases at the bottom of Página 3, and use word reference or ask if you have questions. Once you're done, move on to finish up with the video. Okay, so sorry, you can probably hear my husband in the background there. He's on a work call. So we have los adjetivos, or adjectives, which are used to describe nouns. So words like tall, short, nice, funny, ridiculous, things along those lines, okay? In Spanish, these are usually after a noun, okay? So in English, as you'll notice on page 4, we usually have the adjectives before a noun. But in Spanish, we flip the word order, and they're usually going to be after a noun. Just like articles, they must have the same gender and number as the nouns they modify. Modify is another way of saying describe. And you follow the exact same rules that you follow with nouns to make them plural. So for example, if an adjective ends with a consonant, you're going to add es. And if it ends with a vowel, you're going to add s. So now what you're going to do, the video is ending, and at the end of the video, you want to finish up the final activity on Página 4, have me check your work, and then you may move on to conjuguemos and or the tarea, the homework for practice. Please feel free to ask if you have questions. Muchas gracias.